Throughout the show, we've been talking about the allegations of sexual assault that have been made against Bill Cosby. And while he has not been charged with any of these allegations, it's hard not to think about the millions of women that have at one time or another been a victim of rape. Here to talk about the repercussions of sexual assault is the award-winning author and psychotherapist of The Year After, Ashley Warner. Welcome, Ashley. How are you?
Hi, Joanne. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
You actually wrote this book, and it is your memoir. So you, at the age of 24, you were actually a victim of sexual assault.
That's
and
right.
it hasn't been an easy journey, and it's a very moving book. Tell us what happens to somebody that has been assaulted. What are the responses or the reactions? First on a short-term basis, and then for the long term.
Right. Yeah, I was raped when I was, like you said, 24 years old. I was assaulted by a stranger who had been hiding in my apartment building. And that's actually the rarest form of rape. Most rapes are perpetrated by someone known or so on. But no matter how it happens, there are some pretty common reactions. In the immediate aftermath, it's typical to have disturbances of memory. It's common to feel dissociated and numb.
Like you're almost leaving your body.
Exactly, yeah, sort of checking out and shut down. And if you don't know what you're looking at, it can look like someone is not being truthful about what happened, when actually it's shock and confusion. And luckily we know more about that now, and so respondents in the crisis phase have been trained more and more to understand what's happening to a victim in the immediate aftermath.
So a victim may be questioning whether or not it really happened, and wondering if she or he is making it up to some extent.
Absolutely.
Because of the lack of,
right. I
the
mean,
trauma.
In my case, it was as clear-cut as a case can be. It was a stranger who, jumped from behind the stairs. And even so, I recognize, firsthand how confusing it is. You're trying to make sense of something that absolutely makes no sense.
Right.
And so in the, again, in the most clear-cut of cases, you're still questioning it. It still doesn't make sense. So obviously, if it's someone that you know who committed a crime like this, it can be even more confusing. And if drugs or alcohol are involved, that can serve to add to the confusion.
Right. Again, you're not sure if you're making it up or if it really happened, or if in some way you're distorting the truth. Why is it, Ashley, that so few people come forth after being sexually raped?
There are a lot of reasons that might prevent someone to come forward. Some of the more common reasons are a fear of having your intimate, private life exposed publicly. That actually is cited as the most frequent reason that people don't come forward these days. And, while it's true that if a case does go to trial that a victim might have to testify, well, unfortunately, very few go to trial. But there's protections now that victims don't have to reveal a lot of their, are not, there's laws preventing an intrusive investigation into someone's private sexual life, for example, and that offers protections.
Well, because years ago, it was as though the victim, were you leading this person on? Did you do something in some way to make this person seem that you wanted to be sexually not necessarily raped, but to have some kind of sexual encounter?
Right. The Violence Against Women Act of 1994 helped us a lot with being able to have the resources to research and learn more about sexual violence and combat some of those myths.
Which is good, because it's important.
Absolutely.
Now, what about having that being sexually assaulted by someone high profile? What are those ramifications, and what happens in the psyche of someone that's been sexually assaulted?
Well, I think what happens is that the reasons that really are present for anyone who's been sexually assaulted are just exaggerated exponentially when it's a case that has the spotlight on it. the fear of having your private life exposed, while there are protections in a court of law against your private life being revealed. No such protections exist in the court of public opinion. And indeed, the women who have come forward with accusations have been scrutinized and are subject, to all kinds of scrutiny.
What happens, like we talked about some of the short term, now it's been hot. This particular incident is behind you. You wrote the book as a mechanism, a way of healing. Where are you now with it?
Actually, I wrote the book more as being past the healing part and being able to share it. So I think it took me so long, it took me over 20 years to write the book, I think because I really wanted to be past the incident and to be able to have a broader perspective. So I think that's what I'm able to bring to the story is, inherently in the story is hope, because it is possible to heal, and that's one of my main messages.
You healed, you're married, you actually work with other people who've been sexually assaulted, and you really help them get to a better place.
Right. When I went back to school to become a therapist, I coincidentally, through no action or on my own, I was assigned to a sexual assault treatment center, and it turned out really well.
That was important. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for the memoir.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Power Your Life will be right back and find out what's hot for next week. Before we go, I'd like to leave you with my PowerPoints for the week. I'd like you to remember how powerful you really are and to be able to draw from that inner strength within you. Don't let anyone, anywhere, deter you from recognizing what your values are and what's really right for you, and make sure that you stand tall with your own truths. Thanks for being with us today. Next time, we're going to take a look at the book and the movie 50 Shades of Grey that has so many women and men of all ages fired up. We have a jam-packed show of professional matchmakers, love and sex experts with advice on finding the one and tips on how you can turn a 50 Shades of Grey fantasy into your reality.